Hello guys. Today I have a reaction video. This video is from Straw Hat Midas. I'm not sure if I pronounced her name correctly, but if I did not, I do apologize. I was having a debate with some friends on how they felt about Scarlet and Violet. And a chunk of them, were saying that they were pretty bad. Like, given the release of them, given all like the choppiness, how they ran on the Switch 1. Switch 2 obviously is going to be more enhanced for it, but I mean, I can't help but wonder what some other creators' opinions are on Scarlet and Violet, because I know that a lot of people crap on it. I mean, a lot of people crap on modern Pokemon, like, in general, myself included. I mean, I'm not particularly like a big gigantic fan of Sword and Shield. I think Legends Arceus was all right, but I can get into that like at a later date. But Scarlet and Violet, I genuinely had a bit of fun with, not even necessarily for like the gameplay, but I guess more so for like the exploration and just like the mons you can use, and like just the mons used, because like we have such like a wide dex, it's easy to replay the game again and do like a variety of like challenge runs. Like, I did like a psychic only run like a couple years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And like, Toby Fox did like an incredible job like on the composing of like Area Zero. And I mean, like, I have like, like my little things I like about it and like my things I dislike about it, but I wanted to see another person's perspective that actually sat down and actually like, analyzed like the game. I actually kind of like want to do this myself at some point, where I want to review all the Pokemon games. I don't know. This video kind of just caught my eye as I was like searching, like, if other content creators like, just dislike Scarlet and Violet, I kind of wanted like an honest review, like, especially like, from someone like, who isn't like, super big. It's nice, plus, I mean, I can, see their content. Looks pretty underrated. But that said, let's get into this.
A lot of people say that Scarlet and Violet are the worst main series Pokemon games that we have ever gotten. And
I don't know about the worst, but I mean, that's a tough one, man. I think Sword and Shield are the worst, but y'all can flame me in the comments later. I don't know. You tell me I'm wrong. You tell me I'm right.
as someone who's been playing Pokemon for over 20 years, I had to find out for myself if they're really that bad. Starting off with the most divisive topic, the gameplay.
As as someone like, who's been playing Pokemon for over 20 years, like, I totally get this, because, it's a different era of Pokemon, like, going from like 2D. The story just seems like more rich back in the day, especially like, like Pokemon Sun and Moon. I'll admit, Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet didn't really have much of a story. Legends Arceus did, but I don't know, the gameplay for that game is later.
With every new Pokemon generation, we get a bunch of changes to the formula, some of which are incredible and others are just... Look, it's actual garbage. With Scarlet and Violet,
Z moves are not that bad. They gave Pokemon their own little unique touch and their own ways of actually being useful in some aspects. Like Mew's, like, for example, was really adorable. I don't think Z moves are that bad.
finally got one.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a Sun and Moon lover.
The biggest changes that fans
I don't
have been
think they're
begging
that
for
bad.
years, and that is the open world environment. Open worlds generally fall into one of two categories. Either they're full of incredible things to explore and uncover, or they are just terrible. And Pokemon had been
I need to play Witcher. I heard Witcher's really good.
slowly but surely moving this direction, with games like Sword and Shield and Legends Arceus having their own wild areas, which are just diet open worlds, but with Scarlet and Violet they were
That's really a good way to put it. I agree. Diet open worlds.
finally
Yeah.
ripping the band-aid off and jumping into real open world environments.
Oh, this is terrible.
Oh my god. This dude's fucking funny.
Much better.
I love what they were going for with this, but the open world in Scarlet and Violet is about as much fun as getting the plague when you're going from one town to
Jeez.
the other with an open
You should have put an Aromatisse there.
world like this, you would think there would be hidden secrets to uncover and fun locations to find, but for the most part, it's just open fields full of nothing. You will see some items on the ground here and there and some packs of Pokemon doing their thing, but for the most part, you're just walking from one town to the other with nothing happening in between. When I look at games like Breath of the Wild that came out a few years earlier, when you're
I see where he's
exploring the
coming from
world,
with
there
this.
are random encounters that come up,
Yeah.
like the Yiga clan, that make
Yeah.
exploring fun and unique every time you do it because you never know what's going to happen next. But in Scarlet and Violet, the only thing that happens between towns and points of interest is that you will see Pokemon or items, and that is it. I have explored every nook and cranny of Scarlet and Violet, and though there are some parts that are really fun to explore, most of the game
Most
just
of it
looks like
is
this, and
yeah.
it stinks because the
I totally get that too, because you expect, like, you know, there to be like something new like in a specific area, but when you have like the same exact like just blandness with like no real action going on, it kind of takes away the open world aspect. Especially like, you know, if you like started off on the Switch on like Breath of the Wild, where you're used to that kind of, you know, environment and just actions constantly popping up on you. And like another thing too, like, you know, when like you're playing Breath of the Wild, is like you can get to an area, like for example, like with like a Lionel or something, and like you just get like completely like wiped out. That's like the one thing that I kind of like give Sword and Shield props on, is that going into like certain wild areas, like you would get blown back because of like how high level the Pokemon was. I've only really played Sword and Shield like once, so I don't know if I'm 100% correct on that. Y'all can let me know in the comment section below.
trailers made it look like this world was going to be incredible to explore.
Yeah,
And looking
Pokemon
back
does a
at
good
these
job at
trailers
that.
After playing the game, I feel like this had to
Not
have been a
actual
crime.
game footage
I
when
think I
that
need
should
to
have been the
call my
actual
lawyer.
game footage.
Playing the game, I feel like this had to have been a crime.
I think I need to call my
I'm gonna
lawyer.
call my lawyer. Also, oh dude,
Game,
shit.
I feel like this
He
had to have
has
been a crime.
those
I
Naruto
think I need
posts on the wall. He's got Pain, Orochimaru, and Itachi. Those are really, really cool.
to call my lawyer.
Big fan.
Hello?
The GameCube dub,
A
that's funny.
complaint I hear a lot about these games
Oh,
is
this
that
guy's
there
really
is
funny.
no level scaling whatsoever. Whether you're exploring the world or battling trainers and gyms, all Pokemon have a set level that is going to be consistent throughout the game and the post-game.
Yeah, that's one thing that really annoyed me about Scarlet and Violet, is that they did not scale the gyms to how many ever badges you had. That's always something that's bugged me, and that's honestly one of the reasons why I love like the Pokemon ROM hack Crystal Clear, because they actually go and scale your team to how, like, they scale the gym leader to how many badges you have, and I wish that Scarlet and Violet did that. This seemed like very lazy.
Overworld, I'm fine with the levels being set to a consistent level, because those battles are entirely optional, for better or for worse. But the one part in this game where I think level scaling is absolutely necessary is the gyms. In Scarlet and Violet, the story is broken up into three parts.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Which being the gym battles. And with Pokemon shifting into the open world, I thought this was going to be the first true Pokemon experience where you could go and battle any gym in any order you
Yes.
want. Because that would make sense, right?
Yes.
Welcome to this year's Big Dumb Idiot Convention.
Fucking
I'm
love
your
it.
host, Midas.
When I'm playing an open world game, I want to be able to explore it how
This guy's great.
Here's Big Dumb Idiot Convention.
Facts.
I'm your host, Midas.
Facts.
When I'm playing an open world game, I want to be able to explore it however I choose to.
Facts.
Do it. And though
Yes.
that is loosely
Yes.
possible in Scarlet and Violet, there is a predetermined order the game
Yes,
really
I
wants you to go.
I
And
literally
during my
just
first
said
playthrough,
that, and I
missed
love it.
2 gyms early on and went past them and did other things first. And when I came back to them, the gyms were incredibly easy
Under
and took
level.
almost no
Yup,
effort.
that's
So much so
exactly
that I was
what happened
disappointed
to
that I
me
didn't do
when I fought Kofu first. And then I found, I do not remember what the second, Brassius, I think is the second gym leader's name. Again, I think his name, wrong emote, that one, yeah. I think that was his name. And then Lavincia, and then there's Iono, and then I fought them. But yeah, all the gym leaders were like just super, super easy. And that's honestly like one of like my biggest issues with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and I'm glad that this guy's touching on it.
were changes that didn't work incredibly well. There were things that I really did like that were added in Scarlet and Violet. The first of which being the new gimmick, terastallization.
I do
the
like Terra.
The era of Pokemon is an extremely divisive topic. Whether it's Mega Evolutions, Gigantamaxing, or Z-moves, everybody has their preference.
We all know that Mega Evolutions were the best one out of the three. Like, don't even kid yourselves. G-Max was, no, Sword and Shield, meh. Z moves, I guess those can be debated. I personally like Z moves because I'm a Pokemon Sun and Moon fan. But I definitely think that Mega Evolutions are definitely the best, and I'm really excited for them to come back in Legends EA. I know that some people are probably gonna disagree with me on that, but that's okay.
But I think that
Opinions make the Pokemon world go around, right?
terastallization is a unique idea that works really
I
well,
also agree.
even if it looks incredibly dumb.
Guys,
It does look really stupid. Bro's hat. Bro's hat. That is too funny.
When you have your Pokemon terastallize in battle, not only does it get crunchy, it also becomes that type, replacing its weaknesses from its normal typing with the type it terastallizes into, all while maintaining the bonuses that it would normally get from its types in addition to its new type. And though at first following it becomes a little complicated, it ends up being one of the most fun new mechanics that we have gotten in a Pokemon game. Not only do you have to know what type of Pokemon you're battling, you also have to anticipate what type they may be for a terastallization. And both in the standard game and in competitive play, this is an incredible idea.
Yeah, in competitive play, especially in like 6v6, like, yeah, Terra plays a huge role. You can either win your battle or you can get completely screwed by it. Volcarona also is completely busted with Terra, by the way. Water Terra, oh my god, man.
Unlike Mega Evolutions, it affects
and like you can cater it to literally any play style that you want to. That's like what's really cool about using Terra, is that there's no right or wrong way to use it.
Some more subtle changes as well, like the ability to auto battle Pokemon, which I think saves a ton
of time. I agree
From
with that. I do like the auto battle feature.
You can send your Pokemon out to go battle Pokemon or pick up items for you, which I think is a very nice touch. Any way to possibly make it easier to grind your Pokemon up is something that I'm always going to be a fan of, because I can knock through 10 or 15 auto battles in the same amount of time it would take me to complete one standard fight. I think the changes to the gameplay and mechanics are moving the right direction. I love the idea.
Yeah, I see where he's coming from with that angle too, especially because like recently, like, you know, I've been playing like earlier gen Pokemon games. I've been playing that through Pokemon Crystal Legacy again, and regardless of like how much like I love Crystal and like the improvements that ROM hack brings to the table, it's just a prospect, you know, of like if you don't have a repel and like you're stuck in a cave, like you're constantly running into mons every like 5 seconds, and it's really irritating sometimes, where it's like you can like auto battle and you're done.
Idea of an open world Pokemon game where I can go and explore however my heart desires. And though we're not there yet, I love to see the Pokemon Company making steps in that direction, because I have wanted this for a very long time. So even though there are some things that I don't really love, I'm giving the changes to the gameplay and mechanics a 7 out of 10.
Okay. That's respectable.
In the most general sense, I don't really care how a game looks as long as the art direction is something that I enjoy. And normally I can get past a Pokemon game not having top-of-the-line graphics. With Scarlet and Violet, it is almost impossible to defend the state that these games launched in.
Yeah, so dude, that's also another thing that's just modern Pokemon, like in general, like Pokemon games on the Switch should not look like they just came out from the Nintendo 64. Some N64 games probably look better than this, and that's really, really sad. Pokemon Coliseum launched in 2004, and Pokemon Coliseum to me just looks more beautiful. Also, XD, I've never played XD, but I mean, actually, I played a little bit of XD when I was a kid, but I got stuck at a certain point. But this is XD and like Coliseum, like despite being on like GameCubes, they ran better. And the games just looked more visually appealing than they do. The games like aren't even like polished, and you know that's the thing that sucks about, you know, like a lot of modern Pokemon games, actually pretty much all of them besides like Let's Go, is that these games just, they rush them out because they gotta, you know, because they gotta sell merchandise, they gotta sell the cards, they need to get the anime out, and they need to get their main, because without the games these products can't come out. So it's like, hey, you know, work as fast as you can on these games and release them, because we don't really care, because they're going to sell anyway. People just keep on giving the companies their money, and it's like, why should we try harder if the game, like, you know, if the games are going to sell anyway? At the same time, like, you know, it pisses me off like as a Pokemon fan, but like at the same exact time, you know, from like a business standpoint for them, why should they? We need, like, if we're really upset with the way how Pokemon games are in today's day and age, we need to speak with our wallets. We just need to not give them money. I haven't bought a Switch 2 yet. I haven't even bought, I obviously need to buy a Legends ZA for work, but I'm really not looking forward to it. I kind of am, and I'm kind of not, but we can get into that another time.
On screen, having their own stats and abilities to keep track of, there is a lot going on to keep these games running at all. But at launch, and even to this day, Scarlet and Violet are an absolute mess. Granted,
Absolutely.
This could be fixed with the Switch 2 version of the game coming soon, but
this video came out a month ago, so yeah, the Switch 2 version definitely did fix it. But the fact of the matter is like on the Switch, the game should not have been performing the way that it did. Like it's dog shit.
State on an original Switch, even the OLED model, it does not work well.
It does not.
While playing this game, there were dozens of times, both in battle and while exploring the world, where I thought my Switch was going to explode.
Yeah.
Specifically if I was
Me
near
too.
water, or it was raining
Yeah.
in game, or God
Look
forbid,
at how slow Talonflame's wings are moving. Like you can clearly see it.
the frame rate of the game would drop to a staggeringly low level.
10
and it's not
like
the
what,
graphics are
10?
incredibly high detail.
They're
either.
not.
It just looks like a standard Pokemon game.
They do.
And I get this was the first Pokemon game to be a true
But I mean, like, still, Pokemon Coliseum and XD still looked better.
open world experience. But whether it's the art style and the graphics themselves, or the frame rate of the game, Scarlet and Violet do not play like a game that released in 2023.
They
during one of the cutscenes, I had a Bisharp walk directly up a vertical wall. And
Get
that is more
out,
so funny
dude.
than anything else. It's just a shame that a Switch game is still
That's
in this state
crazy.
to this day. That's not to say it hasn't gotten
I've
better.
never seen the Bisharp and like other mons be able to like walk up the wall before, dude. That's nuts.
Since launch, they have added updates
Wow.
to make the game feel a little bit more playable, but because there's times where the game struggles to
I haven't played Scarlet and Violet since 2023.
run at
so
all, I have to
I'm
give
not
it
really
a
sure.
3 out of 10.
3
on
out of 10,
performance.
yeah. I agree with that. 100%.
I am by no means someone who believes the new Pokemon games are unable to make a good Pokemon. There are some Pokemon from every
The designs
generation
are
that I find
phenomenal.
great, and
Let's not like no. The designs in modern Pokemon are phenomenal. I mean, like we have Pokemon like Dragapult, we have Pokemon like Fluttermane, you have like Hisuian Samurott. There are some sick designs. Pokemon still got it in the design department, dude. Don't get it twisted.
there are others that I don't really like.
No
And
doubt.
Overall, the new Pokemon in Paldea are pretty good.
They
The
are.
Pokemon selection isn't my
Sprigatito
favorite, but I
is my
wouldn't say
second
it's bad.
favorite of all time, next to Bulbasaur. Second favorite starter.
Starter Pokemon selection isn't my favorite, but I wouldn't say it's bad.
They're one of my
Sprigatito
favorites,
and
actually.
Fuecoco are
I would say Scarlet and Violet starter options are definitely like one of my favorite sets for sure. I'm not a big fan of Quaxley and that in that whole entire line, but I mean I love Meowscarada and I love Dirge, man. Skeledirge
really
is
good Pokemon,
so
but
sick.
the new
Same with
designs
Dirge.
Like Cloth, Scovillain,
Dirge
and
rocks.
Tinkaton are really good.
All these mons are
And
also
going
really,
into
really solid.
Bird Pokemon in Paldea, it's really disappointing that there wasn't an early route bird like in every other main series. Pokemon.
Is Wattrel not the early? Is Wattrel not the early bird though? It looks like it would be, but I mean, I get where you're coming from. Like, you know, given the fact, you know, that we have like the normal and flying type. I think Wattrel would fit that bill.
Pokemon game. But one of the things Paldea does the best
And
is having
Kilowattrel's
great
really cool.
balance between new Pokemon and returning favorites. Unlike some other generations that lack in Pokemon variety, Paldea has a ton of different Pokemon to choose from.
Literally said this at the very beginning of the video. He's spitting facts. We do have really, really good mon variety in Scarlet and Violet.
At any given point in the game. And considering I've beaten through this game a few times now, every time I do, my team looks entirely different with a blend of new and old Pokemon alike.
Yeah.
But one of the
I agree.
biggest and most interesting changes that came with the Pokemon selection in Paldea is that you get your legendary Pokemon in the very beginning of the game.
But you can't
Depending
use
on
them.
what version you pick, you get either Koraidon or Murraidon.
I like them both
They
equally.
crash
I've played
land
both
on the
Scarlet
beach
and
really
Violet.
early on in the game and will form to an entirely new level. Paradox Pokemon are either future or past versions of Pokemon that exist in the modern day.
Personally, I think that the past versions are better from Scarlet, but that could just be my opinion. I'll leave you guys to have that comment. I'll leave you guys to comment that down below.
In Pokemon Scarlet, you get all of the past Paradox Pokemon.
Fluttermane!
In my opinion, are
Fluttermane!
incredibly well designed.
Adorable.
You can tell what these Pokemon are based off of just by looking
Hello,
at
Roaring
them,
Moon.
but they really do look like a prehistoric version of the Pokemon that we've come to know and love. And as much as I love the past versions of Paradox Pokemon, I really don't like the future versions. In
Yeah,
Pokemon
neither do I.
Violet,
I don't
all
think
of
that's
the
really a hot
Paradox
take.
Pokemon come from the future, which in my opinion is
Well,
a
Iron
great
Thorns.
idea, except every single Pokemon design is just a robot.
The robots have taken over the Pokemon Center, not
Jesus,
the
dude.
Pokemon Center.
Truthfully, I don't
This
think
guy's
it was
hilarious.
a bad idea. Good designs.
Yeah.
So overall, for Pokemon
Yeah.
variety, I'm giving Scarlet and Violet a 7 out of 10.
I would give them a 9, but that's just my opinion. I really like Scarlet and Violet's cast.
With
not a
Generation
bad take.
4, stories become one of the most important parts in a Pokemon
Oh,
game.
now
We
we're
have
talking about the plot. I love it. All right, let's see what he has to say about the plot.
Pokemon stories that have permanently altered my brain
Yup.
chemistry because of how good they were.
Mhm.
And after recently replaying it, I think Scarlet and Violet has one of the better stories in the Pokemon series. The story is broken up into
Yeah,
3 different sections.
maybe.
The first is the most common that you would see
Yeah,
in
the
any
gym,
Pokemon
yep.
game, being the 8 gym challenge.
Yep.
Before you get have a mini
Yeah, it's like the typical rival. You're going in, you have a rival battle every once in a while, and this Nimona kind of reminds me a lot of like Goku. You know, like the childlike personality, the always constantly wanting to like test your skills and stuff like that. I don't know why, but I get like a lot of Goku vibes from like Nimona, and like I like that.
The minigames serve as a test, and I think it's a really cool idea that breaks up the monotony that we've
Yeah,
come to
I
know
agree with
from
that.
Pokemon gyms. It's not the first game to have minigames
It's just
before a gym, and honestly,
sometimes they're a little buggy.
historically, when you fight the Elite Four, it feels like you're taking on the strongest trainers in the region. There was a feeling of tension and suspense that you no longer get because the Elite Four in Paldea are just giving you an examination. That being said,
I
I
understand
do
where
find
he's
it
coming from
interesting
with
that
that.
they allow Larry to be both a gym leader and an Elite
Larry is
Four member
awesome,
at the
dude.
same time.
Larry is so relatable. I can get into Larry like at a different time, dude. Everyone loves Larry. You can dislike Scarlet and Violet, but everybody fucking loves
As
Larry.
long as he's using 2
I love
different
this
types
dude to
of
death.
Pokemon for throughout the years. Overall, the Gym Challenge and the Elite Four are pretty good. I wouldn't say they're the best in the series, but they are also
Yeah, they're in like the middle.
The second part
Yeah,
of the
I agree
story
with that.
involves our villain organization, Team Star. And I don't think they're the worst villain organization that
Yeah,
we've
oh
gotten,
God,
but
Team
they're also
Yell.
not very good
Ugh,
either. One of
gross.
the major plot
Not a
points
big fan
of
of Team
Scarlet
Yell.
and Violet is that everything that happens under the
I love
supervision-
all the members of Team Star, by the way, guys. I thought that all these characters are really well. I think that they were decently fleshed out. You know, just like especially like the way like how Team Star formed.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
I do like how Team
Yeah.
Star is really the
Yeah.
only part of the game that ties into the overall school narrative the story has.
Yeah.
But every Team Star base is exactly the same where you
Yeah,
beat a bunch
it
of
is
Pokemon
definitely
in an auto battle.
very, very repetitive. I definitely see where he's coming from with that.
But the saving grace of the story from Scarlet and Violet comes from the last character, and that is Arven.
We love Arvin, but yeah, but back to what he's saying, you know, more about Team Star. I definitely see the angle that Pokemon was going from and wanting to bring out more of the school vibe. But in the grand scheme of things, like all evil teams in Pokemon have to do with the plot. Team Rocket, Team Aqua and Team Magma, Team Galactic, Team Plasma, Team Flare, and then you even have everything in Pokemon Sun and Moon with the Ether Foundation, and even I forget what it's about Guzma. Forgot what Guzma's team was, and then Team Yell. I could not. No, it would be nicer to see like Team Star be connected deeper to like the plot in terms of like Area Zero. I just, you know, I want something that's more deeply connected.
One of my favorite that we have gotten in a main series Pokemon
Yeah,
game. In a
Mabostiff
long time.
really touched my heart. That was definitely one of my favorite parts about
Arven's
Scarlet and
goal
Violet
is
for
to
sure.
have a sandwich with Arven, which is then eaten by your legendary Pokemon, which unlocks some new form of traversal.
I know that he's talking about like the plot in Arven, dude, but I can't help but get goosebumps every time I hear Area Zero. Toby Fox just hit that one out of the park like no contest. Area Zero is one of the best tracks I've ever heard in a Pokemon game, period. You get the vibe, like if you guys have ever seen the anime I think it's called Into the Abyss. I've never like watched like all of it. Is it? No, Made in Abyss, sorry. but it sounds like you're going into like a very deep JRPG slash anime kind of like dungeon, like forbidden place, like, and I feel like Toby Fox really captured that extremely well with the Area Zero composition. So
The gyms
amazing
and the
fucking
Team Star
work.
missions, you unlock
The
Area
post game
Zero.
is the
And though
best
this
part
is
of the
technically
game.
a post game, it also
Crazy.
serves as the overall climax of the story.
It is.
And it seems like they were saving all of their writing skills for the very end of the game.
Midas, how you liking the game so far? It's fine so far. That's good, but trust me, it gets really good around the 100-hour mark. 100? Are you sure that's not just
No.
Stockholm's parent,
Especially if you're gathering every little material. No, it really is 100 hours.
Sada or
It's not a
Professor
lie.
Turo, you find out that Professor Sada or Professor Turo are not actually alive, and they have been replaced by an AI model that has taken their place. This is
really
obviously jarring for
blew
Arvin and the
my
rest of the
mind.
crew, because you have been
This
communicating
twist.
with this AI realization that this wasn't his parent after all, and it was just an AI that had taken
Yeah.
his parent's place, is devastating to see.
And
because
like
he wanted to build a
that
better
is like
relationship with
the
his family,
one
but considering
thing that I really enjoyed about the last part of Scarlet and Violet is that, I don't know, you know, we've been given Pokemon games with like some really deep plots before. Like, look at Pokemon Sun and Moon, look at Platinum, and look at Black and White. Going into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, after I beat the game, like I'm talking like, you know, without going into like the post game, I really thought that that was it. And my ending thoughts of it was very bland, and it was like Pokemon Sword and Shield where it had like no story. But then like as soon as I completed the post game, I was like, wow, a variety of Pokemon games, like, you know, you have like that gut wrench cut into you. And like what I mean by that is like, you know, you realize that Ghetsis had been using N the entire time. Lusamine is like purely psychotic. And like, you know, Lily, like, you know, is like, you know, trying like, you know, to have like a bonding moment like with her mom. And this moment at the end of Scarlet and Violet felt like an earlier Pokemon story. And I give Scarlet and Violet like the utmost respect, like, you know, for being able to do that. I just don't like the fact that I had to wait 100 hours in to get to this grand finale. You know what I mean? My biggest thing with the story is that I wish that we would have had more involvement. Maybe like a combination like of Team Star and the main plot of Scarlet and Violet to keep up with the trope that the evil teams usually have something to do with like the deeper end of the plot. I think that Nintendo and Pokemon could have taken a hybrid approach to that with Team Star. Then again, that could also just be my opinion. You guys can let me know in the comment section below.
I will take that. That being said, I'm fine with
Carmine.
replacing a deluxe version with DLC as long as the DLC is
That girl
This
made
scene
me...
makes me want to start drinking.
That character made me so angry. Carmine just... Oh my god, Carmine pisses me off, dude. Poor Kieran. You really do feel sympathy for the kid. Start drinking. He's drinking milk. Ha 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 ha. I understand the angle of liking the second DLC more, but I actually like the teal mask more, specifically because of Kitsukami. And Kitsukami just reminded me a lot of like Johto. I mean, it has literally nothing to do with like the plot and like the story aspect of things. It literally is just the setting and the place of where like Kitsukami takes place. I love it. And that's personally what brings me to liking Teal Mask more than Indigo Disc. I did not finish Crown Tundra, by the way.
I still play to this day
I do not like
when I want a
Dynamax
shiny
Adventures
hunt
either.
legendary. It's
Sword and
something that I can
Shield.
go back to time and
Modern
time again
Pokemon
and
made
have a
shiny
good
hunting too
time
easy.
anytime I want to play the game. But in Scarlet
If I'm
and
in a
Violet,
shiny hunt,
there
I'm
is
just
no
gonna go to
single
earlier
game mode to
gens.
justify the purchase. And though the stories they tell in the DLC are pretty good,
I like the
if
challenge
it had
aspect.
that one final piece, it would have made the entire package
Terapagos
feel
is
more
definitely really
complete.
pretty.
But overall, I think the DLC in Scarlet and Violet is fine. If you like the game, you'll like the DLC as well. So I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
And overall,
yeah,
I can
that's-
understand the
that's what I
sentiment
give it
about
to.
why people think Scarlet and Violet are not good games, but I don't think they're the worst Pokemon games we've gotten. They are full of performance issues that could have been hammered out
Yep.
if they were given another 6 months to a
Yep,
year
yep,
of
yep,
development
yep,
time.
yep, yep.
But to release these games in the state they were when
Yep.
everybody was expecting a great new open world Pokemon game was just sad to
With
see. And though I
Pokemon
think
Sword and Shield and Legends Arceus, though, I mean, I feel like a lot of people's expectations were at the time definitely not really optimistic. I mean, like, you know, you have like, you know, of course, like everyone that'll buy the game regardless, but then especially now, like after Scarlet and Violet came out with their DLCs, it's like, you know, now we're in the same exact position again with Pokemon Legends ZA, where a lot of people, including like myself, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are too, we're a little hesitant on, you know, being excited to play these new games coming up. Sure, I'm excited for Mega Evolutions, but I mean, another game that's incomplete and running like crap despite the Switch 2 coming out. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have like a lot of hope for Pokemon's future. I mean, like I hope, you know, that doesn't come off, you know, as like too negative and too bleak, but I really genuinely do feel that way. Pokemon just doesn't feel the same as it was before. And Scarlet and Violet, this dude pretty much touched every angle. I have a lot of, I agree with a lot of him, with a lot of what he said. The post game was good. The DLC was mid. The Pokemon designs I do like a little bit more than his ranking of 7 out of 10. And just like, you know, like the 3 parts of the story, I like the gym challenge part. I loved Arven's part. Bless Arven. Arven's awesome. Arven's probably one of the best parts about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But yeah, let's wrap up this video.
I think these games could have done a lot better. I don't think they're as bad as people say.
I don't think so either. I think Sword and Shield are worse. That could just be me though.
Close to running out of colors to name their games after.
Well, what do you think the next games are going to be called? I feel like it's going to be something like Pokemon Lemon and Lime.
Anyways, guys, yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. Definitely go check out Straw Hat Midas in the comment section. I'll leave his channel in the description and in a pinned comment. Guy makes really cool content. If you guys want me to react to any more videos in the future, let me know down in the comment section below, and I will go ahead and do it. With that being said, hope you guys have a good day. Bye.